Hello and welcome to Athlantic, the show where an American and a Brit take turns crossing the pond to learn about sport culture in the UK and the USA. I'm Adam Jordan, your resident American.
And I'm Harry Collins, your resident Brit. We've reached episode 19. It's the end of the summer. The weather's turned slightly in London. How are things in New York, Adam?
The weather is definitely turning in New York. I will say it's very interesting. There is like a bout right now of cooler air that has like permeated most of the eastern half of the US. So basically all over social media and like all over news, you're seeing all of the like anybody that is basically from the Midwest to the East Coast being like, oh, it's like feels a little fall like. It feels so nice after it was sweltering and humid and terrible here. So like, you know, not ready for summer to end, but like kind of nice to have it not come out, not be boiling and humid and terrible. So it sounds like you're getting a little bit of the same over there. You were describing it to me yesterday in real time, being rainy and like not quite fall rain, but you know, we're starting to have those hints.
Yeah,
you know?
We've had 2 consecutive days of rain, so summer's over. We'll see you in April. Thank you kindly. We enjoyed it. We've had a fantastic summer of weather in the UK. I think plenty of people will complain, especially in London, where the heat is just worse for plenty of reasons. But I actually thought the summer's weather was fantastic. It was nothing compared to the summer of sport that we've enjoyed, which we will talk about. But also the changing weather comes with it a change on the sporting calendar. This is our favorite time of year, narrowly beating out that sort of winter into spring streak where we see like baseball kick up. What's happening on your side of the pond in the next couple of weeks that you're excited for?
Today specifically, and giving away the recording date, specifically was like Christmas morning for me. It was very, very, very nice that Brighton is playing on a Sunday and not a Saturday, because today is the first full week of college football. Yes. So like we had college game day that I was explaining to you earlier. British audience, we will talk about college game day another time, I promise, because it is terrific. We should do a show about like television institutions.
We should do
like
a show about
shows are.
The shows.
A show about the shows.
Yes.
Brilliant idea. For later, not for now. So
Great.
I got up in time and got my breakfast already in time for the 9 a.m. college game day show. We are interrupting watching football to bring you terrific content about things, including football. So you're welcome, everybody. I'm missing Texas, Ohio State right now. But, college football starting. The baseball playoff races are heating up. We're going to have playoff baseball in less than 5 weeks, which is so exciting. We're going to have NFL starting, I think, next week, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe the week after that. I really should know that off the top of my head, but sorry. Plenty going on. We're going to have the NBA starting back up soon. The WNBA is about to get into its playoffs very soon.
Cool.
I think they've got less than 2 weeks of their regular season going. So we've got tons coming up. Hockey's going to start, both the NHL and the PWHL. So there is so much to look forward to. Touched on it. Premier League is starting. What about you, Harry?
The Premier League is starting. The WSL starts on the 6th of September. So that, from recording, is next week, but probably very close to where this episode comes out. So that'll make this finally a really topical episode that is relevant when it comes out. It'll be great. We've also had the second competition of the football calendar in England has started, the Carabao Cup, and it's already given us a couple of really good games. We spoke at length last year about the FA Cup. Think about the League Cup, or it's known as the Carabao Cup at the moment because they're just the principal sponsor. Think of that as like its little brother, only open to the professional teams in England, but it means that we get to see Man United play and lose to Grimsby, which is what happened in the middle of the week. You watched a bit of it. I watched it, just like slack-jawed The total mess going on in the red side of Manchester at the moment. The other thing that we're really excited about that's coming up, we've got the Ryder Cups coming this fall. As we started to record, the England's game in the Rugby World Cup just finished between England women and Samoa women. We're going to talk more about the Rugby World Cup in a little bit. Okay. It was a really tight game. Do you want to guess what the score was?
See, one thing we didn't cover too
it's the scoring
closely is like scoring, and I know that tries are 5.
Yep, and then you can convert for 2,
and then the conversion is 2. Yeah. So let's say you said it was England and Samoa.
Yep.
Your excitement is leading me to believe that England won. So what if we go with 27-17?
It was 95-3.
Oh
yeah, absolutely. I really
so
misled you. No, it wasn't close at all. But also the highest scoring rugby game I've ever watched. We set a record. I think the highest score in an England Women's Rugby World Cup game. So fantastic, a real points fest for everyone in Northampton who was watching it, and the millions of us watching it on TV. So thank you for sacrificing your football game, but I did manage to get the whole rugby game and half of the Leeds Newcastle game as well. So I'm happy. I'm over the moon.
So you're doing great, and hey, I'm not missing the Carolina football game. Bill Belichick, the fight, the North Carolina Tar Heels, aka the North Carolina Fighting Bill Belichicks, are they don't play for another couple of days. And tomorrow, I'm getting on a plane to fly down to make it in time. So I am excited. I will report back.
And you will have to report back because we discussed this. There's no way I can watch an 8 p.m. kickoff on the East Coast. That's really silly talk.
No one would realistically expect you to stay up until, what would that be, 1 a.m. your time?
To watch the start.
Just to have the privilege to watch the kickoff itself.
Now, quickly, before we jump into the main thing that we want to talk about today, I've got 3 questions. Number 1, very quick fire. Is Bill Belichick going to change the fortune for Carolina football? Number 2, who do we fancy for the baseball playoffs? Number 3, who are you excited to watch in the rest of the college football season?
Yes.
Great.
The Detroit Tigers, and unfortunately Ohio State.
Okay, cool.
They could be losing right now 28-7, but
wow,
as we speak, I have no idea. But those are, I mean, they won the national championship last year. We're off to a good start against Texas, the number 1 team in the country in the preseason. So, if
you want to know how Ohio State won last year and how they could win this year, go back and listen to the 2nd episode of Athlantic. Before we jump into the main topic of this episode, is talking about actually the summer that's just gone past us, because on both sides of the Atlantic, we've had a fantastic summer of sport. It's been a little while since we've recorded. Since then, I attended a mystery golf event, to which I couldn't possibly allude to. If you're watching, if you're listening, I'm wearing a hat from the Open in Port Rush, which I was lucky enough to attend with a couple of dear friends of both of us.
Harry just couldn't see me go to a major golf championship this year and not attend one of his own. He just was really jealous.
So the thing that I got so jealous about, and we talked about this when you went to the Masters, is that Augusta has that like unbelievable prestige and I hate this word, that aura. So to get back at you, I went to Wimbledon and the Open in the hope that smushing both of those experiences together would give me the same thing. And you know what? It didn't. I'm on all of the email chains for the ballot for Augusta. God knows what I'm going to do if I get a ticket. I guess I'll go to Georgia.
Well, bad news, Harry, because the lottery results already came out. So
I need to check my inbox. Okay,
definitely
great.
Check your email.
I should check my inbox. So yeah, what else happened in the last couple of weeks? couple of months?
I on a personal level, because we could go back a while for this, but like on a personal level, I checked off the 22nd ballpark on my personal MLB ballparks list. It's a little bit misleading. I've not been to like 22 of 30 teams. Some of those I've been to like both the versions of both the most recent and the current stadiums. That was probably explained weirdly, but like I've been to Nationals Park where the Washington Nationals play now.
Sure.
I also went to their old stadium, so like I haven't been to 22 teams ballparks, but I've been to 22 major league ballparks.
That's fair, yeah.
And I crossed off number 22, which is Citi Field right here in New York. So I have now hit, I've maxed out on my New York major league ballparks that are currently available to me.
So
go ahead.
We're going to talk about stadiums in great detail. That's one of the topics that we're actually thinking about many episodes in advance, because we really want to do.
We've been talking about doing a stadiums episode since we've been talking about doing Athlantic. So someday it will work out. We just have to figure out the right angle.
I wanted to write my dissertation on stadiums. I think that's absolutely fascinating. But out of your 22 that you've been to, just ballpark it for me. Where out of if you ranked all of them, is it lower half, upper half, upper quarter?
For sure, upper half. I really enjoyed Citi Field.
Nice.
I thought the getting into the stadium, getting in and out was pretty easy. Like I like to get in on the granular granular logistics type of things. Like getting in and out was pretty easy. The concourses, not the widest, so like getting around the stadium itself got a little crowded at points.
Okay.
But beautiful park, pretty clean.
Yeah.
Sightlines all really good. There's not a spot in the ballpark, and I like to, whenever I go to a park, try to walk around to see all of it. And I didn't see a space where it was really hard to see the field from wherever you were standing, on the concourse or something like that. So amazing. Upper half for sure.
And finally, over the road from Citi Field is the Arthur Ashe Stadium and the rest of the American Tennis Complex in New York. Is there much of an atmosphere because the US Open is going on right now? It is this is one of those instances where New York is the center of attention, as it so often is. Do you feel that now that you've lived in New York for a couple of weeks? It's been more than that now.
I mean, you definitely hear about people in your personal life. You hear about people going. You see ads for it everywhere. I wouldn't say there's a buzz about the city for it. Maybe that changes, or maybe I'm just not plugged in enough. But it's still you definitely know what's going on, and it's certainly a big deal. And it was cool to know while I was at Citi Field, because you can very much see Arthur Ashe Stadium and the tennis complex from Citi Field. So it's kind of cool looking over and being while I'm watching this really great baseball game, being that's the epicenter of a sports universe, and that's pretty cool. So
and the Arthur Ashe Stadium is huge. I mean, it looks impressive. When you look at it from the I don't know what the subway station is called, which I imagine that's how you got there. When you see it from there, it looks like a spaceship has landed on another building, but that other building is already an enormous stadium. It's when the playing field is so small as it is relatively in tennis, and then you still see the stadium really bloat like that. Wow, I bet really cool. To be in the nosebleeds at a tennis match, that must be weird. We should do that. Let's go to Arthur Ashe.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Yeah, let's make it happen. Cool. So So we've talked about our personal summer of sports. Summer of sports is definitely one of the more fun times of the year. Obviously, in the U.S., like I was saying, we've got MLB going on, WNBA. We've had a terrific WNBA season this year.
Cool.
There's been it's certainly been a newsy one. There's been it's been in the news for the wrong reasons, certainly for the right reasons as well. So lots of fun on that, and that's wrapping up. It also sounds like, Harry, that it's been quite the summer of women's sports in the UK. So I can't wait to hear all about that today.
It's been amazing. When we think about 2025 and we reflect on the sort of sporting environment that we had this summer, People will think about the India test, the test series that we had in the cricket, which I texted you frequently about. We've got a text chains where I've sent you like 20 like real time
there was play by play, yeah,
commentary, play by play, especially for that final day. We had the India test, which was amazing. We had the Lions tour, which is the closest thing we talked about. This is the closest thing that we have to like an all-star team. Our sort of United Kingdom all-stars going over to United Kingdom and Ireland going over to Australia to play a tour. But when people think about the summer of 2025, they will think first about the Women's Euros, the Champions League that the Arsenal women's won, and I hope they will think about the Rugby World Cup, which we are hosting here in England. This has been the summer where I think the nation has been most united in pride behind its women's sports, which on the one hand is obviously a real shame. There have been many, many instances where we really should have, where there should have been far more unity, especially since we're talking about the second Women's Euros won by the Lionesses. They are
in 2 tries.
In 2 tries. They're the first England national team ever to defend a European or international, a world trophy. The men's have only ever won a single trophy, so I don't really see any point in letting them have any point of discussion in this. I think the men's cricket team failed to keep the Cricket World Cup in 2023, I think. So yeah, they're the first England's national team ever to defend a title, and first.
To your, may I interject please? Real quick? To your point on it's a shame that there hasn't been more rallying around it. And this is the year where it finally came up. Not to dampen things a little bit, but I experienced this a little bit firsthand. I told you I went to an MLB game at Yankee Stadium about a month ago. And this was when the Women's Euro final was happening. The Lionesses were in line to win penalty kicks. Dramatic, really exciting. I was watching it on my phone just to keep an eye on it as I was at the baseball game. There were a couple of guys from the UK behind me, which was interesting. They were experiencing their first MLB game. We were talking about it. And I kind of overheard them watching behind me. And, unfortunately, they were putting it down. They were watching the penalty shootout, and they were just talking about how the penalties were so bad. And I distinctly heard, "This is why I can't take them seriously," and that just was such a letdown. I'm from the obvious sexism of it. There's also just your national team is playing. That should be a point of pride. It's a shame that's not for everybody. Sport. For any sport, regardless of what it is, but not to put a damper to dampen things. I think that just shows why this is something that we need to talk about, something that we want to talk about. Yeah. And it's something that should be celebrated. So let's take this episode and celebrate.
I desperately hope those bigots find this episode so I can speak directly to them when I say everyone that isn't on this train should be getting on right now, because I think England is only going to keep staking its place as a bigger and bigger celebrator for women's sports. The outlook is getting stronger. There's still a long way to go, and there's still interesting confines that we need to recognize and expand. But I think it's a really exciting time to be a fan of women's sports in the UK, especially exemplified by this summer. But I'm speaking to an American where women's sports, America's been sort of the gold standard for women's sports in terms of team sports for ages. So you've already mentioned things that you're excited about in the fall this year being the WNBA finals. I personally see the WNBA as one of 2 leagues that have consistently set the standard for women's sports, along with the NWSL, the premier the premier soccer league in America, regardless of gender. It's better than the MLS. Can you speak to the popularity of both of those?
Yeah, which like can't believe I realize now I didn't actually mention that. Like, yeah, that's another key part of our summer sports calendar right now is obviously the American soccer side on both the men's and the women's side.
Yeah.
They happen in the summer. But yeah, so NWSL definitely a lot of fun to be definitely a lot of fun right now. But yeah, I mean it's definitely continuing to grow. Professional women's soccer, much like the men's side in the U.S., has had like a lot of growing pains and a lot of off the field business things that it's had to figure out of like, okay, what is the best way to organize this? What is who are the right people that are going to be in the right place at the right time to get this to really take off? And you're starting to see, I think, really, especially over the past couple of year or two, you've really started to see the NWSL stabilize and really start to be able to take off a little bit. So, yeah, there's definitely buzz around it. The stadiums, there is the Kansas City Current built in the U.S., the first like purpose-built stadium, professional stadium for women's sports, so or for a women's sport. So yeah, it's an exciting time to be a fan.
I think the leadership shown by the United States for particularly women's soccer has been so impactful and so instrumental in the growth of particularly the WSL in England. You can track the improvements made and the recognition given to the athletes in the early 2000s compared to the recognition given to the athletes in like the 2010s in England. And you can see that we're like a decade behind. We're a decade and a half behind because the classic Brandy Chastain picture of the women winning the World Cup in America happened in 1999. The year after, the women's professional league was founded, and then the year after that, it started playing. And because it went straight into a professionalized league, athletes had, didn't have to have a second job, could train and recover and work on, the talent always flourishes in professionalized leagues. Now, what's frustrating is the WSL started in 2011 in the UK after years of semi-professional football. But this is awful, and I'm sure many of our listeners won't have known that women's football was completely banned in the UK after 1921. Because during the First World War, women's football was so popular. When men's football came back after the war, they had to ban it to protect the popularity of men's sport. Like tens of thousands of spectators would go and watch women's football because it got so popular when the men were off somewhere else. And then so when they came back to like protect the value, literally the value of like the men's football league, the FA banned it.
Okay. You answered my question. The FA. So the FA.
Yeah, so wouldn't recognize a professional league.
Wild.
Of course, that was changed. Like kind of 70 years later, 1992. Like the FA started like recognized in 1992, 7 years before America won the World Cup. FA recognized women's football again, and then founded the Women's Premier League.
I mean, to be fair, I want to say, and it might be speaking of turn, I want to say it was like 1995. So the World Cup before that like big on U.S. soil win in '99 at the Rose Bowl. I don't remember if it was 95 or if it was the World Cup before that in 91. It was still called like it wasn't even called the World Cup. It was called like the M&M's Cup.
And you won it again.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. To be clear, all of this is under the umbrella of American dominance, and one of the things that we may get to is like unfortunately, the growth of the game around the world and like the growth of women's sports around the world will probably mean some like less dominance for the USA. Sort of like hoping. In the way that like it's meant less dominance for UNC soccer on the college front. Although we did win last year. Anyway, we're so proud of our teams.
So professionalization in America happened in 2001. Professionalization in England happened in 2017. We had the WSL for 6 years as semi-professional.
It was semi-pro.
It was semi-pro.
I did not know.
And these, unlike the teams in America, almost all of these teams are affiliated with men's teams. And in 2011, the men's game was already so unbelievably rich. We had no idea what to do with the money. Like, it's such a travesty that the WSL was allowed to start without being professionalized immediately, and not only for the injustice of it, but like if you're trying to build a league with talent and competitiveness, you want to make it professional as quickly as possible, so everyone is like training to be better. Nobody is worried about like second incomes.
Was it looked at as like obviously don't know what those contracts were like at the very beginning, don't know what they're like. I haven't looked into what they're like now, but I can't imagine they're
not like
nearly as lucrative as that. Yeah, these all, like you said, they came to be as sort of like offshoots of their men's teams, whereas like here, women's professional soccer, it's taken many different forms. Like the league that started that you're talking about in 2000, 2001, like that was not the NWSL as we know it today. No. I think there's been like 3 or 4 like kind of top flight leagues in the US before we've figured it out, and we only kind of figured it out fairly recently, like I said. But like those are all their own franchises, their own clubs. Like it wasn't like it's not like they were part of something else. Granted, there's a more robust structure for the sport in the first place over there, to say the least. But like, yeah, that's interesting to me.
So the affiliation between the men's and the women's team under the same club banner is such a point of disappointment and such a fulcrum of disappointment in this conversation. But also, it's where we're going to see a really interesting conversation at the end of this conversation. One team that has been consistently excellent, and you have to give them props, has been Arsenal. Took women's sport, took the women's team very seriously way earlier than other, particularly Premier League teams, traditional men's Premier League teams. I think Arsenal won a Champions League very early in its foundation over a decade ago, and then has sort of. Well, Arsenal have always been a really competitive team in the WSL. When we get to professionalization in 2017, when we've got full-time contracts, that's where we start seeing the national team rising as well. And after the 2017, we've been highly ranked in the FIFA women's rankings, and we've also been able to push for obviously the Euro title. We've been to the Women's World Cup final, which we lost unfortunately to Spain, and of course this year we got over the line. We beat Spain, the same team again, a couple of years later, and retained our title, something that again England's never done before, no men's team has done before, and obviously the only men's World Cup win, the only men's major honour win, happened on English soil. This is the first time that an English team has won abroad and literally brought it home.
Actually.
So
interesting, because it's like it's almost and so it sounds like there's an element there for sure of like, it starts where the resources are. So like if you want first and foremost somebody to put resources into the sport. Obviously, you'd like it to be its own standalone thing that fully stands by itself, but like better that there are resources there in the first place for sure, and that's where you need to start. The other thing that I find interesting is that like that I would be interested to know, and I looked into this before the episode, but I couldn't find a ton of good research on this, of like what the roster makeup of like some of the older like U.S. pro teams were like before, like when there were semi-pro teams, because you're talking about how like the rise of the WSL and like getting that fully professionalized led directly to the Lionesses being more competitive on the international stage. Like that implies that most of the players in the WSL are English. So like what was the talent doing before? Was it going abroad? Like, so I'd be interested in that. I don't know if you know the answer, but like, yeah,
great questions. The teams that have historically dominated women's football, German women's football, Bayern Munich, Wolfsburg have been fantastic in the past. Lyon in France have been amazing, and I think probably the best team in the world at the moment, even though they lost to Arsenal this year in the Women's Champions League, is Barcelona. Your question about where the talent is really interesting, because I think England have gotten better because the WSL is the place for talent to come to, like the Premier League, because the rosters are now far more international than they used to be. The competition is far better. Now, there's a really interesting point to be made here, because we've been saying that about the men's Premier League forever, and the English players have never been that good. The Premier League has been the best league in the world for the men's game for decades, but the English national team has not been as good as it should have been, bearing in mind it's the nation in which that league exists, because there's a balance there. Now, if you're attracting the best players in the world, that's great. And suddenly the English players in the WSL have like the highest caliber players to compete against. And for ages, the best talent in the world went to the US. So now the WSL is starting to pull players over from America, and the tide is raising all boats, and we're starting to see improvements in the women's national team as well. But there's the other thing that we need. We don't just need good international players. We also need the other magical bit of sauce that makes national teams better. And that's as you said, the infrastructure and the investment. And finally, and this sucks because it happened after the women won the Euros the first time, we finally put the horse back in front of the cart. If you want to grow something like this, you have to put the money in first. Don't wait for it to catch up revenue-wise, because then it's only ever going to work off of, like, growth is only going to be, small and consistent.
You reap what you sow.
Precisely. So finally, we put the infrastructure into grassroots sport in the last, since 2022, comparing the numbers in 2022 to 2025, we've had Robert Sullivan, who is the CEO of the chairman of the FA at the moment, said that 30 new women-specific pitches have been built in the last 3 years, and 68,000 more.
Like at a grassroots.
Grassroots, yeah, just for training, for engagement, for participation, and 68,000 more young players under the age of 18 are playing women's football. 68,000 more.
68,000
wow. In 3 years. So finally, it was called like the Future Lionesses Fund or something. And it's like £30 million that have been pumped into women's sport, which again, it's not enough. Why only 30 pitches? Why couldn't we make that 100,000 new players? But finally, we've got the talent in the WSL that are pushing the current players, and we've now got the pipeline for elite players coming through. And then the final thing, we're riding this high, and the engagement with the sport happens in, I think in England and other European nations, it happens. You grow the audience when the national team are good. Because then you get your household names. We've got Bronze and Williamson. Hannah Hampton was our goalie against Spain. She was amazing. She's the one that threw the Spanish water bottle into the crowd. That was so cool. Go on.
True. Also, Lucy Bronze, go Heels. Tar Heel.
Yes, go Heels. Russo, go Heels.
Yep. Alessia Russo.
Alessia Russo might be.
Lottie Wubenmoy.
I would like to put Alessia Russo I would like her to be the very first Atlantic Hall of Famer for playing for both the Tar Heels and Brighton Hove Albion. unbelievable.
I mean,
she did both, and then played and won a Champions League and has won 2 Euros. Yes, my favorite women's player of all time, narrowly beating out Mia Hamm and Mappy Lyon, but that's another thing. So we've got like the household names. You've got the recognition. Then you've got attendances in stadiums going up. You get sponsorships and broadcasting exploding between 22 and 25, and now we're looking at in 2025-26 season, the one that starts this week as you're listening to this, every single game will be broadcast on either Sky or BBC or YouTube. They're all super accessible. Arsenal, this is where we really make the next step for engagement. Arsenal have pledged to use the men's stadium, the Emirates Stadium, as the home stadium for the women's team for the whole season. They're the first team to do this, and this is where we sort of mentioned this conversation and this sort of this difference and this sort of splitting of the road earlier. Arsenal have pledged to use their men's stadium for both the men's and women's stadium. It no longer is the Emirates is not the men's stadium, it's just the Arsenal stadium. And both men's and women's play there, which is amazing because it holds 60,000 seats. It's held the record for the WSL highest attendance for a couple of years now. Arsenal have the highest average attendance. Yes, they are leading. But the other really exciting development that we can talk about is this year, in the last 2 months, Brighton and Hove Albion have pledged to build the first women's football-specific stadium in England. So, it was the Kansas Sound?
Kansas City Current.
Kansas City Current. Where did I get sound from? Kansas City Current built the first... Maybe you're thinking,
Seattle Sounders? I don't know.
Maybe. That's dumb.
Anyway,
So, where Kansas have built the first... female-specific stadium in the world, Brighton are now following. And now we get to ask this really interesting question of what can be and what will be the best way of developing the sport. Is it by harmonizing and bringing equality to the men's and the women's game, but acknowledge that they will always be compared? Or do you give them a women's specific stadium and they've got their own space and it's not linked to the men's team, but they play on the same under the same banner?
I feel like there's a whole feminist discourse on that somewhere that probably ties into some other areas.
We should ask someone better placed than us that question, because that'll be that's the question that'll define women's football in the UK for the next 20 years. But sorry, finish your
No, I was saying it's interesting because the investment in this, you talked a little bit about how did you say that this year is the first year that all women's Super League games are on television or streaming?
They'll all be broadcasted. I think this
is the first year.
I think
was
so.
It like this in previous years? Okay, regardless, if that was this year, if that started 2 years ago, if that regardless, it's so interesting because timing is so important with that kind of thing to get that investment. So a lot of times you'll see that investment at a league-wide, at a country-wide level. One of the things in the U.S. that's been that I think is a big part of the discourse in men's and women's soccer is the discrepancy between the media rights for MLS versus NWSL. So, and I don't know the exact figures, but there are the amount that the total rights cost. Apple has the rights to all MLS games, or virtually all MLS games. They paid way a far greater sum than the NWSL's rights holder did. Meanwhile, the NWSL's, and there's plenty of reasons for this, the NWSL's average viewership per match I think is higher than the MLS's. So they're not getting the value that they should be for what they're generating in terms of viewership. So the timing of that is probably a little tough for the NWSL. I don't know all the details of when that television contract or streaming contract was signed, but if they were to renegotiate that now, then they should in theory get way more of a boost. And it sounds like that kind of happened with the Women's Super League, and don't quote us on this, but like it sounds like it did.
So I think the really interesting thing that the WSL has done that men's football cannot do in England is show every single game. Because of the 3 p.m. blackout, you can't view legally all of the games in the UK and the men's game.
Is this like to protect? Is this like some like old British law?
Have we not done the blackout before on this?
We have not talked about this.
So 3 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday cannot be broadcast live in the UK. Like,
is that to like protect
tickets? Lower? Allegedly, it's to protect smaller teams, so that you will still go and see your local team, and you'll still be able to watch the best football on, at 5 o'clock that evening.
Major League Baseball fans watching this in the U.S. are rolling their eyes at the blackout situation
because of the regionality of broadcasting.
We'll get into it another time.
We can put that episode well past 100 when we're really like scraping the bottom of the barrel. We'll do the regionality of broadcasting in baseball. So yeah. Anyway, we're at this amazing point. The national pride in the Lionesses, I think, is higher than the men's team has been since the 60s. We're in this really wonderful point. We're about to go into a season where we have the best club team in Europe. We have the best national team in Europe. We have unlimited access to all of the games this year. We have massive stadiums finally being used. And Arsenal are using the Emirates for all of their games. The other teams are using it for at least 3. They're their men's stadiums for at least 3 games. Most of them are between like 5 and 8 games a year. We are seeing women's football inhabit these amazing new spaces, and now in Brighton we're going to see them inhabit like women's specific spaces where the infrastructure can be designed specifically for the differences in the games. And we have to acknowledge there are real differences in the games. That's why we shouldn't compare them. They are both beautiful games in their own right, and the infrastructure should reflect that. So it'll be interesting seeing where these diverging paths lead. Do we want the total assimilation at the Emirates, or do we want the Amex and then the whatever the women's stadium's going to be called in Brighton? I'm so excited. I'm really proud to be a Brighton fan when this is happening. But that's so cool. There we are. The atmosphere for women's sport especially has dominated 2025.
Well, what else other than, because we've focused very heavily on football, we touched a little bit on the Rugby World Cup. What else has kind of made this a quintessential cool Britannia light summer of women's sports in the UK?
We are hosting the Women's World Cup, the Women's Rugby World Cup. Not only are we the favourites for the competition this year, I think we were favourites in New Zealand.
Samoa.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Samoa, we were the heavy favourites. I think we lost the final in 2022 in New Zealand. The attendance for the final in New Zealand was like 42,000 and a bit. The attendance for the first game of the Women's World Cup between England and the USA was higher than the final in New Zealand. Also, the final of the Women's World Cup this year is going to be held at Twickenham, which means that the record attendance for a women's rugby match will be set at 82,000 because it is completely sold out. We will demolish the previous record by double.
So cool.
And we're hosting it, and we're here, and we've got fan zones, and people are watching it like in pubs. It's amazing. It's what we deserve. Sweet. And then we've got the Women's Cricket World Cup in India, which starts, I think, late September. That's going to be amazing. We get to draw out England's biggest 3 sports: the women's Euros, the World Cup, and the World Cup in each of those. It's just such an exciting time to really like get involved and set aside any previous prejudices and just get to back England 3 times in a row. We haven't been this proud to be English since 2012, and that's a long time ago. So yeah, that's
exciting.
it. What a summer! Long may it continue.
Two other, very much like that's such an exciting like wave to be able to ride. And like regardless of when that comes, like obviously long deserved, long overdue, but like the fact that you got to be happy it's happening. Like we can lament, hey, it didn't happen for a while, but like you can only like the good old sports cliche can only control the next play. We didn't get to do this the last time I was over there, but need to go to Twickenham next time.
Yes,
next time I'm over there.
Yeah, I need to get you to a cricket game and to Twickenham. I've never been to Twickenham, and it's really close to where I live. It's like 5 miles from where I am, and by all accounts, it's amazing, and it's in a lovely part of London as well. But we have to do Twickenham. We have to do a rugby game. We have to do cricket. Another like nice women's sports story is the popularity of the 100, which is a cricket event which plays it's men's and women's game on the same day. You buy one ticket, you see both. There needs to be a little bit of adjustment because the women's game kicks off in the afternoon when people are typically working, but it's still it is putting thousands of faces on women's sport, and it's inspiring to young people of all genders. It's great. It needs work. We cannot stress this enough. We are not done. Especially in England, we can't just sit back and think, yeah, we did it. We need to keep this energy going. But yes, it really feels like this second Euros win, going straight into a Rugby World Cup, going straight into a Cricket World Cup, 2025. It's just a really good one that we will look back on and be really proud of this year.
So cool. Cool. That your comment reminds me of we're not done. It reminds me of my favorite headline that I've ever seen of all time. Just one of the funniest things is I think it was back in 2016. FIFA used to have. You remember that campaign FIFA used to have that said "Say no to racism," which and that framing kind of hilarious in the first place, but there was a headline that said something along the lines of FIFA disbands "Say no to racism" campaign, declaring job done. Incredible.
FIFA, what?
FIFA just never stops giving us terrific headlines. Great discussion. I will say as we transition into the close part of the episode, we wanted to introduce something a little bit new, which is fun. We've as longtime viewers will see as we come up getting close to a year of Athlantic, which we'll celebrate in due time when that happens. We've had a lot of different ways of trying. We've tried to kind of throw some spaghetti at the wall of ways to close out the episodes in ways that are fun to us and hopefully interesting to you. And one thing that we haven't tried is having just a couple of quick questions at the end of an episode where hopefully it gives you guys all the opportunity to get to know us a little bit better, gives us the opportunity to get to know each other somehow even better, and then hopefully it gives us a chance to get to know you better, because we'd love for you to answer these quick questions with us. We'll just do one at a time per episode, but the way that we wanted to start this one, because there's so many different ways to enjoy sports, but Harry, I wanted to ask you, and hopefully you'll pass the question back to me, spoiler alert, is I'd love to know, what is your favorite sports-related book?
My favorite sports-related book is Sports Law by Mark James. No, it's not.
Wow. That is sad,
it's good.
Harry.
It's very boring. My favorite sports-related book is almost Soccernomics, which I've mentioned before, by Maya and Szymanski. It's Cooper and Szymanski. It's really good. It changes the way that you think about football. But if you don't care about football, my actual answer is the Captain Class. What makes sports greatest captains? What makes them great, and the greatest teams in all of sports all have a captain, and how do they sort of set those greatest teams apart. It's amazing. I've never told you about it. We've never discussed this before. This
Never
is a nice...
talked about this.
No. This talks about Tom Brady, the captain of the greatest women's netball team in the world. It talks about Carlos Puyol. It talks about there are seven qualities of a great leader, a great captain. There are things like doggedness, organization, always being quiet when you need to be, physically leading instead of like verbally. It's so good.
Cool.
And you read it and it applies and you get it. And it's got really good. It's sports media should always have really good anecdotes, and it's got great anecdotes, and then it pulls it back. It's really good. I'll lend it to you the next time. Yeah, the next time we're on the correct side of the Atlantic, I'll throw it at you. But Adam, now of course I throw it back to you. What is your favorite sports related book?
Well, first of all, I have to acknowledge that you asked for one book and you gave us
I brought three.
So,
yeah, I know.
So thank you. I'm gonna have. It was hard for me to pick, so I just went with some recency bias. One of the more recent sports books that I've read, and it's just one that made me laugh out loud at several points. And I think if you're one of our British viewers, it may at the beginning seem a little bit foreign, but I think there'll be a tie for everybody. This book is called Welcome to the Circus of Baseball by Ryan McGee, who is currently a writer at ESPN. It is a perfect book. It actually has a North Carolina tie because this mascot and this stadium are for the Asheville Tourists, so a minor league baseball team. And it's basically just a book about this guy's summer when he was a kid in the 90s working for a minor league baseball team. And again, don't flip away, don't turn us off yet. If you're not into minor league baseball. I've never worked for a non-league football club, but I can only imagine that it's about the same thing. Sure. This guy is talking about how like having to go like help the grounds crew fix something with the field and then go serve cotton candy in the concession stands later that night. All of like the random stuff. There's, like you said, anecdotes. This book has it all. It genuinely made me laugh out loud at several points. It's probably due for a reread, even though I said it was one of the more recent books. Like, I feel like you could just read this over and over again. And yeah, it's just this one guy's summer, just basically as a kid. I think he was in college, just like interning for this baseball team. So lots of fun. Would highly recommend.
Is he a North Carolinian?
Honestly, I don't remember, but he is. This was in 1994, and he worked for this team. Yeah, he lives in North Carolina.
Cool.
I don't know if he's from there. He probably said that at some point in the book. I just don't remember it. But
so
yeah, I recommend.
What we're gonna do? I think you and I will trade a couple of questions in the next couple of episodes, and then when we get to having guests, we're gonna ask them these questions rapid fire because we're starting to think about bringing other people onto the podcast, and we would love to both get to know Adam and I a little bit more. We want to get to know our guests a little bit more, but we also want to get to know our listeners and our viewers a little bit more. So please, on whatever you are watching or listening to this on, let us know your favorite sports-related book. While you're there, leave us a like. Please follow us along. We are on YouTube and Spotify. We're also on TikTok. And yeah, we're gonna start recording the next episode really soon.
We're back. We're settled in.
We're
back in.
Absolutely locked in. I cannot wait for episode 20. That's a huge milestone for us. That was very aspirational, and now it's so tangible. And as Adam said earlier, we're rounding in on a year of doing this, and we just want to thank everyone for coming with us. So please, let us know what you think. Let us know about your books. And I think that's it from me, Adam.
That's it. I think we're time to sign off. Ta-ta for now, everybody.
Ta-ta for now.